Have you ever stopped to ask yourself why the same kind of person keeps showing up in your life over and over again? Not just physically, but emotionally. They may have different faces, different names, even different stories, but somehow they leave you feeling the same way, unseen, unchosen, not enough. It's not just coincidence, it's a pattern, and patterns, especially in love, are never random. The people we attract are often mirrors, carefully selected by our unconscious mind to reflect something back to us, something we haven't yet fully understood, accepted, or healed. And no, this isn't about blaming yourself. It's about seeing yourself. Imagine your inner world as a house. If your childhood taught you that love looks like inconsistency, you will leave your front door wide open for chaos, because that feels familiar. If you grew up feeling invisible, you might now be drawn to people who don't really see you, because that feeling is home, even if it hurts. The soul seeks familiarity, not fulfillment. Not until we choose differently. At first, these connections feel intense, magnetic, as if the universe sent this person straight into your path. But what we often call chemistry is sometimes just two wounds vibrating in harmony. It feels like home, but it's the kind of home you once wanted to escape. That's why it's so important to understand. You're not broken, you're patterned, and those patterns have roots. There's a concept in psychology known as the repetition compulsion, the drive to unconsciously recreate scenarios from the past in hopes of finally getting a different outcome. It's like your inner child playing the same game over and over again, just waiting for someone to change the rules. But if you don't become conscious of it, the game never ends. You just keep picking players who play the same role, different bodies, same wound. Let's say you consistently attract emotionally unavailable people. You might think, I guess I'm just unlucky in love. But what if it's not luck at all? What if, deep down, emotional unavailability is what feels safe to you? Because being fully seen, fully loved, fully chosen terrifies the parts of you that still believe you're not worthy of that kind of love. Think about that for a moment. We're taught to chase love, but we don't talk enough about how we receive it. If your inner world is built around the belief that you're not enough, you will repel what contradicts that belief. A kind, present, emotionally available partner might make you anxious, bored, or even skeptical. You'll wonder, what's the catch? And you'll find comfort in people who confirm your old story instead. Because that's what we do. We gravitate toward what validates our internal narrative. We don't fall in love with people. We fall in love with the way they make us feel about ourselves. And when you haven't healed, it's easy to confuse love with survival, with control, with chasing, with proving your worth to someone who was never capable of holding it in the first place. But here's the twist. Every person you attract, especially the ones who hurt you, is a messenger. They're not your punishment. They're your lesson. A lesson your unconscious is trying to teach you through repetition. That's the only language it knows. And until that lesson is learned, your soul will keep calling in the same characters, dressed in slightly different costumes, speaking slightly different lines, but always ending the scene in the same heartbreak, not because you deserve pain, but because your pain hasn't been acknowledged. There's a kind of honesty that stings. The kind that makes you realize you've been in relationships where you were starving, not loving, where your heart was fighting to feel seen, heard, and held, but all it got was breadcrumbs. And even then, you made those crumbs into a feast. Because that's what unhealed people do. They romanticize survival. You stayed in connections that felt like emotional puzzles, hoping that if you solved them, you'd finally win the love you were craving. But people aren't puzzles, and love isn't a reward for endurance. So why do we keep doing it? Because the pain is familiar, and the familiar is powerful. It's not just about wanting love, it's about how you learned love in the first place. Were you taught that you had to earn it? That you had to become smaller, quieter, more agreeable to be loved? Or maybe you had to be perfect, always achieving, always fixing, always sacrificing? And now you find yourself doing the same in your adult relationships, hoping that this time someone will finally choose you fully. But the truth is, you're not meant to be chosen by everyone. You're meant to choose yourself so deeply, so completely, that you stop craving love that only comes in pieces. And when you start doing that, when you really begin to look inward, to question your patterns, to feel the grief underneath them, you stop seeing heartbreak as failure. You start seeing it as feedback, a clue, a key to the door you've been trying to open for years. That's where the shift begins. It's when you no longer ask, "Why do they keep doing this to me?" and instead ask, "Why do I keep choosing this dynamic?" It's subtle, but it's everything. Because that moment of awareness, that's when you stop being the victim of your story and start being the author of it. You realize that your past doesn't have to keep writing your future. You can feel the pain without becoming it. You can love without losing yourself. You can want connection without betraying your own needs in the process. Healing doesn't mean you'll never attract another wounded person. It means you'll recognize the pattern before it consumes you. You'll pause, you'll choose differently, and slowly, the people who once felt like home will start to feel like echoes, familiar but no longer safe, no longer seductive, no longer a match for who you're becoming. Because when your soul truly begins to heal, the old rhythm no longer feels like music. It feels like noise, and in that silence, something new begins to rise. There's a truth most people avoid because it hurts too much to face. The kind of love you search for in others is usually shaped by the wounds you haven't yet healed within yourself. Not the romantic wounds, the old ones. The kind you didn't even know were still bleeding. Emotional wounds are not always dramatic. Sometimes they show up quietly. Maybe you had a parent who was physically present but emotionally distant. Maybe your needs were minimized, your tears were too inconvenient, or your achievements were never enough. And somewhere along the way, a belief was formed. I have to work for love. I have to be perfect to be worthy. I'm too much or not enough. These early wounds become emotional blueprints. They live beneath the surface, dictating who you feel drawn to, what you tolerate, and even what you believe you deserve. You might not remember the exact moment it started, but your nervous system does. It remembers what it feels like to be abandoned, rejected, overlooked, and then it seeks that feeling out again, mistaking it for love. Take a moment and reflect. How often do you feel like you're chasing after someone's attention? How often do you feel like you're not fully met, like you're always trying to earn a place in someone's heart? That feeling didn't start with them. It started long before. They're just triggering what was already there. The wound of rejection often shows up in relationships as a deep fear of not being wanted. You might attach quickly, overgive, or even try to become someone you're not, just to avoid being left. But ironically, this fear of being rejected often pushes you to choose people who are emotionally unavailable, which only repeats the pain you're trying to escape. Then there's the wound of abandonment, which can manifest as clinginess or intense fear of being alone. It might make you stay in unhealthy relationships just so you don't have to face yourself. The silence of being single becomes unbearable, not because you don't enjoy your own company, but because your inner child still associates solitude with being unloved. The wound of betrayal can lead you to trust too quickly, or not at all. You might find yourself in relationships where you feel the constant need to control or monitor, not because you're paranoid, but because your heart still remembers what it felt like to be let down when you needed someone the most. Each wound shapes your emotional lens. You stop seeing people as they are and start seeing them through the filter of your unhealed pain. A delayed reply feels like rejection. A partner needing space feels like abandonment. A disagreement feels like betrayal. Your body reacts faster than your logic because your body remembers the past more clearly than your mind does. This is why two people can experience the same moment and walk away with entirely different emotions. The one with a healed wound will say, "They're just busy, no problem." The one with an unhealed wound will say, "I knew it. They don't care." These wounds also affect what kind of love you feel worthy of. Someone healthy, stable, and emotionally mature might not even feel exciting to you because your nervous system has been wired for chaos. You confuse intensity with intimacy. You crave the adrenaline of being chosen and then abandoned because that cycle feels familiar. That cycle feels like home, but healing these emotional wounds doesn't mean forgetting what happened. It means understanding it, sitting with the pain long enough to stop running from it, giving yourself the love you were once denied instead of expecting someone else to do it for you. Because once you start healing, everything changes. The people who used to spark butterflies in your stomach now feel like warning signs. You begin to crave peace instead of passion, stability instead of drama, depth instead of distraction. You stop asking, "Why don't they love me?" and start asking, "Why did I think that was love?" And if this message is resonating with you, if you've seen yourself in these wounds, in these patterns, I invite you to take a deeper breath and know this awareness is your first step toward healing. If you're feeling seen right now, if this message is helping you connect dots you didn't even know existed, pause for a second and hit that subscribe button. Share this video with someone who needs it, because the more we understand our emotional wounds, the more power we have to break free from them. And once you start seeing the truth of your past, you begin to reclaim your power in the present. That's when something beautiful starts to awaken. A quiet but powerful realization that not everything you've been calling love was actually love at all. Most people think attraction is a conscious choice. You like someone's smile, their voice, the way they carry themselves, and you feel drawn to them. But the truth is far more complex and often uncomfortable. Your unconscious mind chooses who you're drawn to long before your logic catches up. Your unconscious is a vault filled with memories, emotional imprints, unhealed wounds, and beliefs formed in childhood. While you may believe you're choosing someone new, your unconscious is replaying what feels emotionally familiar, even if it's unhealthy. And it does this not to hurt you, but to give you another chance to heal. You might say, "I want a healthy, loving relationship." But if deep down you believe you're not worthy of that kind of love, your unconscious will steer you toward people who confirm that belief. It's not self-sabotage, it's self-preservation. Your brain is designed to keep you in what feels known, not what feels good. Think about how many times you've said, "I knew this would happen," after another painful breakup. That wasn't intuition, it was a pattern playing out again. The same emotional script, the same roles, just different actors. There's also something called attachment-style imprinting, where your earliest emotional bonds shape how you connect to others later in life. If love once felt inconsistent, you might now find stability boring. If love once came with conditions, you may struggle to receive it freely. You're not broken. You've just been taught a version of love that was never real love to begin with. Even the strongest desires can be overruled by unconscious programming. For example, someone raised in a chaotic household might find themselves uncomfortable in calm relationships. Not because they don't want peace, but because their nervous system doesn't recognize it as safe. That's the power of the unconscious. It speaks through emotion, instinct, reaction. Ever had that experience where someone who treated you well just didn't spark anything in you? That's not chemistry. That's your unconscious saying, "This doesn't match our familiar pain." And so you drift back to someone more emotionally unavailable, more distant, because the drama feels like home. This is why awareness alone isn't always enough to change who you're drawn to. You need to rewire the beliefs that live in your body, not just in your mind. It's not about forcing yourself to choose better people. It's about becoming someone who no longer resonates with pain disguised as passion. And once you understand that the attraction is happening below the surface, everything shifts. You stop chasing people who confuse you. You stop needing to prove your worth. You start realizing that the people you're magnetized to are not signs from the universe. They're signs from your unconscious. And once you begin decoding those signs, you can begin choosing something completely different. something real, something that doesn't hurt. Awareness is powerful, but it's only the beginning. Real transformation doesn't come from knowing you're stuck in a pattern. It comes from making conscious choices to break it moment by moment, even when every cell in your body wants to go back to what feels familiar. This is the part where most people stop. Because breaking emotional cycles feels like grief. It feels like silence after chaos, like choosing peace when you've been addicted to intensity, like walking away from someone who gives you butterflies because you finally realize those butterflies were warning signs, not chemistry. But here's the secret. Your nervous system was trained by your past. That means you can retrain it. Breaking a pattern starts with recognizing the trigger, not avoiding it, not running from it, watching it. Let's say you meet someone new. They're distant, a little unpredictable, and instantly you feel pulled in. The old you would chase that. You'd start imagining a future, trying to prove your worth, trying to earn their attention. But the new you pauses and asks, what part of me is attracted to this? That question alone is powerful, because when you pause, you disrupt the pattern. You give yourself space to respond instead of react. And that's where the healing begins. One practical tool: journaling your emotional patterns. Write down what you feel right after an interaction. Did their silence make you feel unsafe? Did their attention make you feel worthy? Did their rejection trigger panic or obsession? The goal is not to judge yourself, but to start seeing the map of your emotional world with clarity. Another powerful method is inner child work, because often the version of you choosing these relationships isn't the adult you, it's the little you. The one who still believes they have to earn love, fix people, or sacrifice themselves to be accepted. When you begin to reparent that version of you, soothe them, validate them, show them unconditional safety, you reduce their grip on your romantic decisions. Also, understand this: repetition is key. The brain learns through repetition. You've been repeating unhealthy patterns for years. So be gentle with yourself if it takes time to learn something new. Healing is not linear. Some days you'll feel strong, aware, and full of clarity. Other days, you'll want to go back, you'll miss the chaos, you'll romanticize the hurt. That's normal. What matters is what you do with those urges. And here's something most people never realize. The absence of drama will feel uncomfortable at first. When you start setting boundaries, when you stop overgiving, when you walk away from emotional unavailability, it might feel wrong. Not because it is, but because your old identity is being dismantled. You're not just breaking a relationship pattern, you're breaking an emotional identity, who you thought you had to be to receive love. And when that identity fades, grief comes in. It's not just the person you're letting go of, it's the version of yourself that believed love had to be earned through pain. This is deep, sacred work. And it's not always pretty. You'll cry, you'll question everything. But with each moment of awareness, you build a new foundation, one where love doesn't mean losing yourself. And here's something magical. When you truly begin to shift your pattern, your energy changes. You stop chasing. You stop tolerating. You stop betraying yourself to keep someone else close. And as your frequency rises, the people who once felt magnetic start to fade, not because they've changed, but because you did. This is the part where real self-worth is born, not from affirmations, but from action. From choosing what aligns with your healing, not your wounds. From saying, I'm not available for this dynamic anymore, even when your heart still wants to say yes. Because the truth is, breaking the pattern will feel like breaking your own heart at first. But what you're really breaking is the illusion that pain equals love. And once that illusion fades, something extraordinary happens. A new kind of space opens up, a space where a different kind of connection can finally enter, a connection not born from desperation, but from truth, from presence, from power. When you begin healing, something subtle but powerful starts to shift. You no longer crave the chaos. You no longer feel intoxicated by people who confuse you. Instead, you start to desire something quieter, but deeper, something stable, honest, safe. Not boring, safe. And there's a big difference. You stop asking, do they want me? And start asking, how do I feel around them? That question alone is a sign you're healing. Because love, when you're no longer operating from your wounds, doesn't feel like a roller coaster. It feels like coming home to yourself. Healthy love has a different rhythm. It's not always dramatic. It doesn't keep you guessing. It doesn't leave you in a state of emotional withdrawal or waiting for crumbs. Instead, it's grounded in mutual respect, consistency, and ease. And at first it might feel unfamiliar, almost uncomfortable, because your nervous system has been trained to equate love with adrenaline, anxiety, or longing. But as you integrate the healing, the frequency of your relationships changes. You begin to attract people who reflect your new level of self-worth. People who don't need you to shrink to be loved, who meet you in your fullness, who can hold space for your emotions without turning them against you. Suddenly, you're not performing anymore. You're not editing yourself to be more palatable or easier to love. You're just being. And that kind of authenticity creates a magnetic field around you. Because healed people don't chase, they receive, they don't beg, they invite, they don't fear losing someone. They trust what's meant for them will stay. And with that inner shift comes clarity. Red flags don't look romantic anymore. Mixed signals don't feel mysterious, they feel immature. You don't get hooked by the potential of someone, you get inspired by their presence. That's when you know you've outgrown the old cycle. Your love becomes a reflection of your inner peace, not your inner wounds. And maybe for the first time, you stop seeking love to feel complete because you already feel whole. Love becomes something you share, not something you chase. It becomes expansive, not consuming, nourishing, not depleting. And in that space, the kind of connection you once thought was impossible or too much to ask for quietly enters your life without force, without games, without pain. Just truth, just alignment. Because when your love comes from wholeness, you don't just change who you attract, you change what you accept. And that is where everything begins again.